In this lesson, we'll add a floor and ceiling to our room. So now that we've got the walls built out, let's now add a quick floor and also a ceiling, and then set it up so that we have these on separate layers. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just create a simple floor just by dragging out a plane. So I'll go to Create and go back to Standard Primitives and choose Plane. And now I'll just drag this out in the top view so that it encompasses the entire room. Okay. And you can modify that in the Modify panel if you want to change the number of segments or do anything like that. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it as is. And you can see that this is at the origin so that it is it's placed correctly. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this by holding down Shift and just dragging this up in the Z. And just pull this up above the room somewhere. Make this a copy. Say OK to that. And I'll just move this out of the way. Now this, I'm going to go ahead and name this the floor. Okay, and let's go ahead and add this to a new layer. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on the main toolbar, go ahead and bring up layers, and let's go ahead and create a new layer, and we'll call this floor layer. And I'm going to move the selection to the new layer. So I've got the floor selected, so it's going to go ahead and move it to that layer. Say OK to that. And now what I want to do is make this so that I don't accidentally select this floor. I want it to be there, but I don't necessarily want to have to worry about selecting it when I was selecting some of the other things I'm working on. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to freeze this layer. So right here you can see we have options here for the visibility of the layer, and here we can also either be able to select it or we can freeze it. You can see it turns gray when I turn that when I freeze that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that as such. Go ahead and close the layers. And now I can't accidentally select a floor, but it is there. Now for the ceiling, I want to go ahead and modify this so that it matches up with our vault here. So I want to go ahead and bring this down to the ceiling there. Okay, and I'll go ahead and bring it down to the level, the 8 foot level of the non-vaulted portion of the ceiling. And let me go ahead and make sure I grab this back. There we go. And I'll just move this down to be level with that portion right there. And now we want to make sure that we add that vault in. So we need to have the resolution in the right spot, basically. So if we go to the top view, we can see this line right here is where that vault's going to occur. So I'm going to go ahead and take one of these, and to do that I need to convert this to an editable state. So I'm going to go ahead and decrease the number of segments to, I'll just decrease it to 2 there, and I can leave this at 4 going this way if I want to. I'll go ahead and convert this to an editable poly so that we can access the sub-objects here, and then I can either select the edges or the vertices along this line here, and I'll go ahead and just move those into position right along there. Okay, so this is at the point where that vault is going to occur. Now I'll select these vertices and come in from the side, and we'll go ahead and just move those up. And it can just extend a little bit beyond. You don't have to make it match up exactly with this line here. As long as it extends beyond, that's totally fine. And that will give you something like this. Okay, so if you look inside, we've got our nice vaulted ceiling there. Now for convenience sake, if we're going to be modeling a lot of stuff in this room, it's going to be kind of a pain to have to go inside here, and we're really confined trying to build something in here. So what I'd like to do is be able to turn this ceiling off and on, depending on whether I want it to be want to access things inside here. So I'm going to go ahead and again add this to a new layer. So go to Layers, Create New Layer, and let's call this Ceiling. I'll call it Ceiling Layer. Move Selection to New Layer. We'll say OK to that. All right, and now what I can do is just turn the visibility of the ceiling layer off. Okay, so we've got the ceiling in there, but we don't necessarily want it to be visible while we're working. Okay, unless we're doing something that's attached to the ceiling, like the lights or things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that off. So now I've got the floor layer, which I've got frozen but visible, and I've got the ceiling layer, which is not frozen but it's invisible right now, and we can turn that off and on as we need it. But right now we're going to be building kind of things to fill up this room, so we don't necessarily want the ceiling to be in our way. But we've got it all organized here with our layers. Okay, so now that we've got our floor and ceiling, the next thing that we want to do is let's add a little bit of trim around the parts of the ceiling and also around the floor. And we can do that very simply using the geometry that we already have. So we'll go ahead and look at how we can do that in the next lesson.